by the time I'm 30, I feel like I'll be where I really want to be, and I don't have to do this stuff ever again.
And most people who criticize you, they will not be there where they want to be at the age of 30, you know? So
yeah.
So maybe you are actually gonna be happier than them. Podle názvu už určitě víte, o co jde. Předchozí video spustilo hodně rozporuplných reakcí, teda hodně. Podle statistik byly jenom 3% a většině se to líbilo. Takže tady máme dneska druhý díl, který jsem musel trošku osekat, protože některé scény mi nebyly tak lehce průchodné. A všechno bude tak, jak jsem už zmínil v prvním videu. Takže v tom není třeba hledat vůbec nic jiného a já jsem celou dobu při tom, jak jsem natáčel tenhle rozhovor, tak mi v hlavě vrtala jedna otázka, kterou jsem položil až na konci. A zajímalo by mě, co si o tom myslíte vy. Takže mi to můžete napsat dolů do komentářů, potom co vidíte celý ten rozhovor a uslyšíte, na co jsem se ptal. Takže si užijte dnešní video. You have Los Angeles and the closest city what come to my mind is Las Vegas. Is there a big difference within the industry in LA versus Las Vegas?
I'd say there's more work in California, but they've been trying really hard to get certain laws passed, so it's like been harder for companies to make a business out here, I guess. So actually a lot of companies have moved to Vegas, but I would still say majority's out here, and then also Miami, like in Florida.
Miami as well. So
yeah.
Those are the three main cities within the US.
Yeah, I would say so.
Speaking of LA, let's say if there's gonna be some girl who is gonna decide, okay, now I wanna be in adult film industry, how much work she can potentially get in LA if she is good looking?
Okay, so this is something like I always like to tell people, because a lot of people have this assumption that like, oh, like, you know, you're attractive, you're gonna get a lot of work, you know, but it's competitive, like number one.
Oh, really?
You know, it is so competitive. I mean, because there's always someone like ready to get in, and now with the internet and like all these tube sites and different ways to make money in the industry, like everyone thinks that they can be an adult film star. Yeah. You know what I mean? And in a sense, like if you have a camera and you have a computer or even your phone, like you could make money off of videos. You know what I mean? It's not that difficult to get into it, but to brand yourself and to really make a name, that's the key. Like you want to make a brand. Like you want to really be memorable. Like you're more than just that. Like, you know, the energy, like people remember who you are, you know what I mean? Obviously like your look too, but for me, like I have a lot of tattoos, so that kind of stereotyped me a little bit, you know, like there were certain roles I couldn't even get because of that, because some companies don't want to work with any tattoos. So if you have like certain things like that, that might make it harder right away in the beginning, but it might start really good, like especially if you go the route and you get an agent, right? Like any person in entertainment. If you have an agent, most likely you're going to get more work because they'll open doors that you can't do yourself. Some companies don't want to work with performers that don't have an agent.
Oh,
because it's like a safe thing. Like say like an independent performer, they get booked, right, directly, like it's just through them, and they cancel last minute. Then it's like on the company. And like if they're going through an agent, they know it's like reputable, they're going through the agency, they're going to get a kill fee, like things like that. So that's usually a better route, but you know, in the beginning, like you might get a lot of work because like you're new, and companies are like, oh, like we want to shoot her, she's new, or you know, whatever.
Oh.
And
so being new is better than being experienced?
Sometimes, yeah, but then like it depends from there. If you do well and like you put out work that becomes popular or people like it, and you know, producers talk, and if you're like, you know, responsible and professional and like do good work, you'll probably get hired by a different company because it's just word of mouth, you know, like any industry. I always showed up to set very respectful. I did my work, got my paycheck and left. Like, you know, it was never drama. It was nothing. It was a job. Did what I had to do, you know, and so I never had like any really issues in a sense with that.
Are you getting a paycheck at the same day?
Yeah, like 9 times out of 10, yeah.
Is it like a check or cash or?
It's usually a check.
It's usually a check.
Yeah, and you get a W-9. And that's something I want to like fill out. Like you're an independent contractor.
Okay.
It's, you know, so it's like people think like, oh, they're just pulling in cash all the time. Like, no, it's like...
It's official.
Yeah, you're getting taxed. Like most companies, they're like media companies.
So you are actually getting taxed and everything.
Yeah.
Okay. What is like the major difference between, let's say, if you shoot in Nevada and California?
It depends on the company.
Oh, it does.
It really does. You know, because like in California, they were trying to get a law to pass that like you have to wear a condom for scenes, but
my friend told me that. That's why I asked.
Yeah, it didn't pass.
It didn't pass. Okay.
So, but they also wanted to expose a lot of information about sex workers. So like it wasn't really a good thing, especially like for the adult industry. Like a lot of people felt attacked, but it didn't end up passing. But I think it made people like more aware about what was going on. And the thing with companies, and like this is an important thing to bring up, like if you're in the pool, like in the industry, you have to have a current test to shoot, right? So yeah, there's no condoms, right? But you'll have a 14-day test, and that's like, you know, a bill of proof that you're clean, but it's 14 days. Yeah. So you don't know what the fuck is going on. Like, you know, and there's shady business that happens, you know, like some people have faked tests or whatever, you know. I mean, that's the reality of it, because it's out of pocket $155 every time you go, and you got to get tested twice a month if you want to be like current always. So that's almost, you know, it's like a car payment. It's like over $300 a month to get tested. You can't use your own health insurance. So and like
you cannot go to one of those like a public places when it's like for free?
Nope. You got to go through cutting edge testing or talent testing, which is basically the adult industry health pool, where so you get tested there, they get your test results, and then the producers pull from this database like, oh, Felicity has a 14-day test, she's good to go. And they see it. So it's actually like public information, and it's been leaked. Like people have hacked into the system. Oh, wow. I mean, it's crazy. But yeah, so that's kind of like a fun fact. Being an independent contractor, you're responsible to have a test always. And like, you know, even if I have my own health insurance, I can't go to my general practitioner and show my test through them. I got to go to this facility. So a lot of people don't realize that. And then, you know, if a company's not pulling that test, that's a shady company, and you should definitely not work with them. You know?
Yeah.
So
can you live in city like LA comfortably?
I think it depends. Like when I first moved out here, I was hustling. Like I was living on my friends' couches and just saving my money. And, you know, I was also paying off some bills from like the DMV. So I fortunately like had some friends that let me crash for a bit. But then like, you know, I got a room in a friend's house and was like, you know, saving money. But I was just in constant like save. And then I was able to get my own place. But like it took almost like a year for me to really like figure it out and like feel like I was somewhat financially stable. And a lot of people, especially like when they're young, getting in the industry, they're super impulsive. Like, okay, they'll make $1,000 in a day or $1,500. Cool, look at this money, you know? And they'll blow it. And they don't realize like it might not come, you might not get another scene like that quickly. Sometimes you do, but like usually it's like maybe once a week you're shooting, if that, for some people. You know what I mean?
So is that success once a week? Or it's like okay, or success is 3 times a week, or?
Honestly, it's hard to say. Like it depends what you want. You know, like I would never want to shoot that much. It's like I don't, you know, like I'm very much into my health and like.
Maybe guys, they think about it a little differently, you know? They would be like, oh yeah, I want to do it like 5 times a week or something. Yeah. Guys, they.
Well, also you got to think like the preparation that comes into it, like the shaving and the grooming. Like, you know, like sometimes you don't want to do like two scenes in a row because you just shaved and then your hair is starting to grow back in and you're getting razor burn. Like that's a real thing. So some people don't want to shoot like a lot every week, you know, you space it out. But some people don't give a fuck and they want to shoot as much as possible. They'll take anything they can get. So it really depends, I think, on the individual. And then also, if you're smart and you get in the adult industry, you will go down other avenues to make money. Like it's not just from shoots.
Social media or something like that?
Yeah, nowadays? Like you'll sell your own content. You'll sell your private Snapchat. You'll, you know, sell your phone number and like do, you know, be like a phone sex operator and take phone calls. Like yeah, no, it's a real thing though. Like it's called Sex Panther. Like you literally, someone buys your number, like an Anchorman. Someone buys your fucking number and it gets, you know, they don't have your real number, but it gets forwarded.
Yeah, it's like a Google Voice or something like that.
Yeah, and I just get paid like per text. And like I get paid like $5 a minute for a conversation sometimes.
Who are those people who like want us such a service?
I mean, some people would rather do that. Like to, you know, like for them, it's like exciting to talk to someone, you know, it's like, I get it. But, you know, in my mind, like, or like OnlyFans, you know, like just putting your own, like having a subscription site, people more often than not make more money doing that.
Yeah, then.
And so like when I got to a point where I'm like, I don't really want to shoot anymore, I was able to literally like supplement my income by doing all this stuff and just staying on top of it. And I can pay my rent with just that.
The question is how long you can do that for, right? You have to stay relevant, right?
Yes. And it's, you know, being like a woman, especially.
Okay, yeah.
Like, let's be realistic, you know, like sometimes you feel like you're approaching an expiration date a little bit, you know, it's like, okay, unless you want to be like a MILF and be like that type of performer, which I never would do, but some do, and I'm not judging, you know, but yeah, so you kind of get to a point, and like that for me was this year. For me, it's always been a job. It was never like a lifestyle. Like I never really gave a fuck about the parties and the people and the fame. Like it was more like I used it to my advantage and like a stepping stone for a greater purpose, you know, because ultimately like I love music and I love health and I love exploring, and if I could use the platform from the adult to then like fuel my future endeavors, that's my goal. And so that's pretty much what I did. And you know, I'm not like where I want to 100% right now, but like I'm happy with my life, and you know, I get to play music, and by the time I'm 30, I feel like I'll be where I really want to be, and I don't have to do this stuff ever again. And most people who criticize you, they will not be there where they want to be at the age of 30, you know? So so maybe you are actually going to be happier than them. Yeah, but you know, it wasn't an easy path. Yeah, of course. Like people, I hate when people assume like, oh, you're a hot chick. Like, you know, you're so lucky. You could get paid to take your pants off. Like, I could, you know, someone pays me for my used panties. But it's like, yeah, but I have to put myself out there. Yeah, selling underwear. Like, that's another thing. I mean, I used to sell my panties on eBay, and then I got booted off eBay. Because they realized I'm selling used panties. Like, that was fucking hilarious. You marked them as a used, but they were really used. Like, yeah, I said like slightly worn, you know, underwear. But then like people knew. Are you kidding me? How do you name the tag? You put there your name and then just slash like a used thongs or something? Yeah, I just put like oh, like Felicity Feline, you know, like black thong, and I put like a picture of me wearing it, so people would get it, you know. But then like it would only attract the buyers that were those fucking weirdos like looking for used panties. Oh my god, this is crazy. Yeah, I mean it was. So it's been a ride, but like, you know, I always kind of kept my head level throughout all of it and knew like deep down, this is just a tool, you know, to get somewhere else, you know. So what is the craziest thing you ever experienced or witnessed? So like I'm very like secure now with my sexuality, which is good, like which is a good thing. Like I'm very like confident in my own skin for the most part. But you know, I definitely have seen some really sad things, which is like for some people kind of hard to understand. But like, you know, I've seen a lot of people like on set freak out and like they're like, no, I don't want to do this. Like I don't want this on the internet, and like they'll literally like stop mid scene and start crying. Or like one time. Whoa, you see really crazy, like, different sides of human psychology, because it's not like, you know, regular acting where, you know, you're experimenting and, like, seeing people's emotions, but it's so vulnerable because, like, you know, you're naked and you're doing things that most people do in private and are, like, it's more intimate. So doing it that way, like, you see a lot of intense human emotions. The past year, like there's 3 girls that killed themselves in the industry, and they were well known, like they were kind of big names, but it's a real thing. So, you know, I have a bit of a tomboy personality, and I've been riding my whole life, dirt bikes, but this is my Aprilia Tuono, so definitely on this a good amount. I love to do long trips, I'm trying to document more of them, but it's one of my favorite bikes, yeah. I've done some shoots with this bike too, so it's been through a lot. So you guys can find this bike online. Yeah, it's his name's Zephyr. He's a little famous. Well, I don't know about that, but
when we talk about, money and, the fame and stuff, do you think that there's something else within this industry why people go and do that? Or you met within the years somebody who would just wants to be on camera, or?
Totally.
Yeah?
Well, when you ask, like, the type of people it attracts, it definitely attracts, like, exhibitionists. Like, people that love attention. And I mean, I'm guilty of it. Like, I like the feeling of being wanted. Like, who does it? I mean, especially, like, it feels good to be loved and, like, getting compliments and whatever you're doing. It definitely attracts people that maybe they're insecure, or maybe, they didn't get a lot of love in their childhood, and they seek an outlet where, like, people will worship them and love them and, dream of them and fantasize. And, like, I've seen it where, like, but you can see right through those people. And that's why, like, when I say, like, it attracts a lot of low frequency people, I've met a lot of people over the years that try to appear to be strong, but you can see, like, their insecurities right through them. Like, they can't look at you in the eye, or, they're like, oh, like, how do I look? Like, even, like, I remember I was shooting a more of a mainstream movie with this girl who also worked in the adult, and she's very popular, like, much bigger name than I ever was. And she was so insecure because that was the first time I ever hung out with her, and I couldn't believe it. Like, anytime there was a mirror, she's just like, oh my God, like, I look so ugly. Oh my God, I look so fat. Like, she was just so mind-blowingly insecure. And, like, it was sad because she really shouldn't have anything to be insecure about. And she's also famous. But, that happens to people, and, like, it's never enough. Like, no matter how many compliments, like, it has to come within. Like, you need the self-validation to come from you, not other people. And so that's why, like, I kind of like to keep my distance from it, in a sense, and, like, do everything else I do and not relate too much to that industry, because, like, I don't know, it's not really, like, what I want in life.
How long it take to prepare? Because I hear, like, a story that for girls, it obviously takes much longer, but a lot of times those, like, hot girls in those videos are in real life just junkies from downtown LA taking drugs.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah?
I hate to say it, but you're totally right. Yeah. It sounds mean, but yeah, like, he's kind of right. Like, majority, I would say, because, okay, this is another thing. There's a lot of, like, skewed perspectives, because what you see on camera, like, 90% of the time is not what it looks like in real life. I mean, like, the lighting and the makeup that goes into, like, making some people look presentable on camera. Like, I've shown up on set and, like, seen the before and after of, like, a girl, like, with no makeup on, and then, like, her porn makeup on, and she doesn't even look the same. Like, it's just so different.
Person.
Yeah, and I mean, that happens in, like, regular modeling too, and, like, other stuff, like, some people just, they have, like, they put their face on.
Yeah, I was not even referring to the way how they look, because, okay, that's whatever, but more about who they actually are in real life.
Yes.
Because he told me that they actually go there to film it, to get just a couple $100 so they can buy a next, like, dosage.
Absolutely. Well, because like I was saying before, attracting low frequency people, and, like, a lot of people in the adult industry, like, they live for that fast cash. They don't know anything else. They don't know what it's like to hold a regular job. Because, like, say, a girl's 18, which, in my opinion, I think they should raise the age to 21 before you start shooting. A lot of these girls, like, it's like you're fresh out of school or something, and, you didn't have to pay really anything for school. Or, I'm talking, like, majority of people. And then all of a sudden you start making money.
And it's big money for 18 years old, right?
And it's fast cash. It's like you make that in a day. And then it's like, whoa. They start making these expensive habits. Like, they buy expensive cars or stupid clothes,
Or showing off.
Or, like, they start buying drugs and just partying and, like, getting into that scene where they think, like, they're hot shit and they're famous and everyone wants to be with them. And it becomes, like, addicting and toxic, and, they don't stay grounded. Like, that's the problem. Like, they're not humble about anything.
It's interesting that you cannot buy a beer in age of 18, but you can do this.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like, that's my point. That's why it's, like, it's ridiculous. Like, people really should be older before making a decision like that. But
because it's a life-changing decision.
It really is. Because, like, once you're in it, you're in it. Like, unless you have a good lawyer, probably not going to get that shit off the internet. And also, it's like you sign a release form. You know, like you literally sign a form the day of the shoot that you no longer own this content. It belongs to so and so company. They can do whatever they want with it. So it's like you kind of sign your life away, you know. And a lot of people I know, they don't even look at their scenes. They're like they can't even deal with it because it's like the anxiety they get from like seeing themselves. They can't deal with the reality. Like it's like, oh my god, like fuck, this is on there.
So they film, they get the money, and then they don't want to see it again.
They like disassociate, and so that's when like a lot of people have drug problems.
Well,
you know,
that's no wonder.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, a lot of these people too. Like I hate to say it, because I'm not trying to talk down about anyone, but it's like just it's statistics.
Yeah.
Like majority of the people in the industry are usually not that well educated. They don't have backgrounds with a lot of other work experience. So like they'll get into it. And then they do it and they make this money for however long, and then it starts to dry up, or maybe they become too bad with drugs or something, and they don't know any other way.
Yeah.
Because so they're like, they start hooking or, you know, doing shit that's just like shady and go down like a slippery slope. Maybe they get a sugar daddy and like they live with them for the rest of their life, like whatever, you know, if that's what you want to do with your life. But
even when they bring a test, which is 2 weeks, it can be 2 weeks old, you cannot trust them with anything pretty much they say or do, right?
It's brutal. It's sometimes brutal. Like it's like,
can you refuse that partner or no?
Yeah. I mean, and I gotta be honest, like I was one of those girls that like have said no, like I do not want to work with this person, because like honestly I took one like look at them and I'm like, fuck no, like this person's not, that sounds like mean, but I have the right, you know. And it's just like the energy too, like some people are just toxic. And so like when people ask me like, are you into it, like is that what you like, you know, or like do you enjoy it, 9 times out of 10 it's like no. But it's acting, like it's just like it's a job, you know. And like I would never want that in real life, you know what I mean? Like real life sex like is intimate and you're connected and it means something. You know what I mean? I mean most of the time I guess for people, but like yeah, I mean that's why like when I was shooting porn I was single completely, and like, you know, just kind of knew that was a phase in my life. I was just gonna work until a point and then nah. You know, because like I don't want to taint my own like mental and emotional being by doing too much of that work, because it can definitely make people desensitized. You know, and it does. And, like I'm desensitized in certain ways, but not to the point where like I'm not aware of it, you know, because like I'm very self-aware, but some people aren't.
So would you say that the industry in LA is just huge, that it's just a huge business, or it's like a few companies doing their own thing and pretending that LA is just producing so much content, but in reality it's actually not that big?
I'd say it's oversaturated.
It's oversaturated.
But
so
like,
there's more people who want to do it and less work.
Yes. And like a lot of less legitimate real companies. You know what I mean? Like like I said before, everyone thinks that like they
just call you and you will show up.
They're a director because they have some film equipment and like, you know what I mean? Like it's just, it's so accessible now too, and there's all these different like avenues and ways to make money from it, and like, but I would say, you know, it's something that it's just become so exploited, you know, and like everyone's just, oh, sex sells, like we're gonna just use this to promote, and I don't know, to be honest, like I think it's like pretty dangerous, like what's going on, you know. It's just gonna get worse and worse. Like,
have you ever got like thinking that this thing is already just like way too dangerous for you and you should like pull out of it? Like either like some scene or some people you met over there, they try to like harass you maybe in your personal life.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've had a stalker. I had to file a restraining order a few years ago, which that's like a totally real thing that happens, like creepy fans, and that made me really cautious about certain things, like, you know, having a PO box where I get mail, not, you know, like
not physical errors.
Yeah, like I'm very paranoid about things like that. I mean, I'm paranoid in general, but like definitely like had some like sketchy experiences, you know, like when I wasn't working with an agent, and like, you know, you show up somewhere and you're like, this is not legitimate, and I just left, you know. But fortunately, like I'm very meticulous about like work, and I won't just do shit for like the money all the time. Like I've definitely done some scenes where I really wish I didn't, like especially earlier in my career. I did some like up stuff. Like, that is just weird and like taboo. But I was still on the East Coast, and it's not much work out there, and so I kind of took what I could get.
So what did you do?
Like I said, much more impulsive and not as experienced like as I am now, like knowing what the industry is like. So, but yeah.
So in California, let's say stuff like a prostitution, that's illegal. Mm-hmm. That's a sex for money. Mm-hmm. And if you film yourself during that, it's called film industry.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
If they made it legal, I think it would protect more people, and it would just like become, everyone would kind of benefit from it. Like, I think they totally should. Like, I'm not condoning it or like endorsing it, but like, you know, like alcohol is legal.
They
like,
would,
you
they
know
would
what I
pay
mean?
taxes. They would be more under control, right?
Yeah, it's like the same thing that's happening with marijuana. Like, the government realizes like, oh, we could benefit from this. You know what I mean? Like, we're making it into an industry, and so now it's like that's happening. And I wouldn't be surprised if like that was sort of a next thing. Like, because you know they took like back pages down for, you know, like the Craigslist stuff, because the government like wanted to regulate things more. But if they kind of legalized and like maybe created something out of it, it could be like a whole other industry.
What do you think is the amount that they make on you?
Oh my God.
Like,
I'm so happy you asked me this.
Is it like huge or?
Okay, it depends, because like the smaller companies, because like I said earlier, it's so competitive, it's actually pretty hard to like make a lot of money off of it. But it depends what you're doing. Like, if you have, you know, you're really good with the tech and the back end and like, you know, ads and clickbait and all that stuff, like that's a whole amount of money.
You don't need clickbait for it. Like,
yeah,
you know what you're gonna find in there.
Well, more so like saying like, you know, putting something on a tube site for free, making revenue off that, like YouTube, and then like linking it to your own site. Like, I mean, it's the same thing like with YouTube, pretty much. Like,
really works like
that. Like you create like a model account, and it's like a your own thing, and so you, like you, it's like a revenue type thing, but you know, sometimes they have like restrictions, like you have to put a certain amount of time on it and whatnot, and like, but you know, I think it's probably lucrative, but it really just depends like persistence and quality and all that things. But some companies though, like mainstream companies, and like this is where it's sad, right? Because, you know, performer walks in, totally independent contractor, right? Like rarely you ever see like someone contracted, like on contract for a company. And you know, like back in the day, yeah, that was a common thing, but now, no. But so say, yeah, you're hired for a scene for so-and-so company, and if they're like a bigger name where it's like, you know, they've been around a while and like are established and whatever, they give you a rate, no royalties, you sign a release form, then they own the content. And I mean, depending on the video, like how well it does, they could make upwards like 10 to 100 times the amount that they paid you. You know what I mean? Depending on what they're doing with it. But like, you know, and a performer's maybe making like $1,000 to $1,500 for the day, like, you know, just their rate, and then that company makes whatever they want.
You just say that you sign a release, so you don't own the content. So how you can after make money on that content on some website if you don't own it?
Well, the performer doesn't own it. But I mean, like the company,
Yeah,
like
I know, but if you create your model page, as you said, and the content you upload there, that's not a video you can upload there then, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, like say like, okay, and some companies do like, they'll pay you a lower rate and they'll let you keep footage too, if you want to use it. But that's like rare. And because, you know, most companies, they don't want to have like any competition. Like they want to own it completely. But, you know, or some people in the industry totally work on trade. And, you know, like a lot of performers now, because it's like these subscription sites are coming out, they just want to shoot their own content, and they're able to make like $4 or $5 grand a month on OnlyFans or their private Snapchat. Like, you know, and so they'll ask other performers like, hey, you want to work together? And then, you know, if they both have their own sites, no one's getting paid like at that moment, but they're making money from that content. So that happens a lot too. But I mean, that's not something like I generally ever really wanted to do, but like, you know, there's just, it's really what you make of it. And if someone goes into it and they're professional and it's a business and they make the smart moves and they protect themselves, like you can benefit from it and like, you know, make a good life for yourself. but a lot of people do not.
If you would, last question, if you would meet yourself 10 years ago, would you tell yourself to do it or not?
That's like tricky, you know, because...
And we can also refer this as a advice for younger girls.
Yeah, I mean...
In the end.
Okay, like I'm the type of person where it's like I don't want to live in regret. You know what I mean? And like I wouldn't be here right now if I didn't make that decision. Like it happened, it was my path, it was a weird fucking path, but I'm here. So I don't want to say like no, but it's not really what I wanted for myself. If I were to like look back, you know, I would have probably like wanted to just focus on like health and music and not like create that, because it created a lot of roadblocks for me over the years. Like I've not been hired by companies because they know I've done porn, and they look me up on the internet and they're like, oh, we don't want to be associated with this. It makes it a lot harder to get work in other industries, or people don't take me seriously. Even in like music, you know, like they're like, you know, so I have to really prove, like, look, yeah, okay, like I'm naked on the internet, but like I've got actual real talent. So I kind of created like a harder life for myself in some ways. So if you're prepared for that and like you're able to like have a thick skin and do what you want to do and be confident, then like it could be useful for you. But most people, it ends up ruining them.
I have like a pretty serious problem when I see when like there is a lot of girls who present themselves on Instagram who are like the stars, and I see that they have fans who are like 12 years old, and those kids have those people as their idols.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck?
It's fucked up. And I mean, that's why like I too have a lot of like personal battles.
That's bad.
Like internally, you know, about it. I'm like, wow, like I contributed to this. Sometimes, you know, I look in the mirror and I'm just like, okay, like, you know, this is my life and I've done what I've done. But I don't support a lot of the industry at all. And like, you know, like I said, it was just merely a job and a tool, and I don't define myself really that way at all. But it's hard to separate yourself from it once you're in it, you know, and it almost becomes this battle like, well, do I use it to my advantage or do I push it away, you know? And then it's like, if you push it away too much, you feel like you made a mistake and you wasted your time and energy into this, and you feel taken advantage of. But like, so that kind of creates like mental, a little bit like unease, you know, where like I've contributed to this industry that's like promoting a certain thing that is borderline unhealthy, or it might lead people down the wrong path, you know? So, but then I tell myself like, well, someone would have done it, and you know, I'm just kind of taking advantage of something. So I think people need to like really spend some time with themselves and like understand, like, is this what I really want for myself? Is this how I want to represent myself? How am I going to handle people finding out? You know, am I going to be able to be confident and have a thick skin, like, and use this for a long-term goal? Like, I think those are important things to ask before jumping into it.
Yeah, I just, every time I see on Instagram somebody who is a star and they have like a meetup with fans and I see those kids there, I'm like, this is wrong, this is fucked up. Like, the kids should not even know that they exist. I mean, we knew, like, you will always click that you are over 18 and you will watch the content anyway. But now the people actually have the power to connect with the fans, and it wasn't possible even 5 years ago. People didn't have Instagram and direct message to the performer.
Totally.
So right now when the kids are just like having the connection with the performer, I think that this is really fucked up. This is like one of the most fucked up things, like, from my perspective.
Totally. And like it creates like a really warped perspective too with people, especially like kids growing up, and like it's so accessible, and you know, like they get these unrealistic expectations and ideas that like this should be a certain way, or people should look like this, or, and like, I don't know, sometimes it really makes me sick to my stomach. Yeah. But like I have to just kind of like
disconnect from it a little
bit. Like totally disassociate, you know? So it's just like, it's not all glitter and gold. Like there's a lot of shit behind it that people need to be realistic about, you know?
Well, then thank you for telling us more about it from your perspective, because we have no experiences in such an environment. And I'm glad that people could actually hear the other side of the story, because for them it's only the video and they don't see what's behind the camera.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Thank you for your time.
No problem.
And if you guys have any questions, you can write them down. maybe we'll have one more chance to answer those questions sometime in future. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Jam room of the house. Yep, 2 drummers live here. There's a lot of equipment going on, but this is my drum set.
It's your temple.
Yeah, it's
How much time you spend here?
a good amount. I mean, we're respectful with like the neighbors. You know what I mean? Like we kind of have times where we stop, but we soundproofed it pretty well. Like it's not too loud from outside, so you know.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely very convenient to have living in here.